True Detective Season 3, Episode 5 opens up in the 90s timeline, and Wayne and Roland are in the squad room. And in this scene, this is really the first time we see Wayne and Roland really disagree on how to handle something in the case. This being letting Tom see the adult picture of Julie or not. Roland thinks they shouldn't show it because it would mess him up more, and he doesn't know what she looks like more than anyone else in that room. But when Tom appears, Wayne goes and does it anyway. And you can see this really pissed off Roland. And every time Tom comes on the screen, I'm really just super impressed by such a supporting role performance that Scoot McNairy is pulling off as Tom. I'm always fully sold he's this suffering dad with something to hide. In this episode, I think he just shined again, so props to him. So then in the 80s timeline we cut to, we're back at where the cliffhanger was from last week with the confrontation with the hillbillies and Woodard, the trash man. And we get a little bit of a shootout here. There's some cool booby trap action, and the explosions are pretty sweet. Great sound all around too. And Roland gets shot in the leg, which we had a line alluding to him getting shot in an earlier episode, and it explains why in the future timelines Roland's got a limp. And there's just these great humorous lines in this show this season. And it happens right here when Roland's on the ground after getting shot, and Wayne really quickly goes, "Stay put." And Roland just says, "Think I'm going anywhere?" I love they could just throw little lines like that into a very serious, action-packed scene. So then we see Wayne confronts Woodard in the house. And Woodard explains he could have killed Wayne. He had him, but he didn't. And he also realizes that he could have had a shot in court with these killing of the hillbillies if he didn't kill some cops. And Wayne's like, "Well, maybe we'll still work something out in your favor. You're a former vet." And he's like, "I don't want it in my favor." And right there, Wayne knows what's up. And he's like, "You're gonna put this on me?" Wayne knows what's coming. And Woodard's like, "I'm gonna count to 3 in my head and then give you a full burst." And he goes, "I'm counting, Sarge." And what's amazing about this is it's silent and he's counting in his head, remember? So you can count while watching it, 1, 2, and then bam, Wayne shoots him. Awesome sequence and how they went about that. That will of course mess Wayne up a bit. Not something you want to have to do as a detective, especially for someone you actually understood and liked. And a fellow vet. So we cut back to the 90s and we're at the press conference with Tom, and he's asking for Julie to come home. And we learned during this press conference, Mr. Woodard, the trash man, was the one convicted for murdering Will and kidnapping Julie. And then when we see Attorney General Kent get up, he's interrupted by Alan, saying the Woodard kids are contending that their father is not guilty. But Wayne actually gets hard on Alan here, saying he was out of line. And he's like, "This ain't about you and your old boss." They're really good at keeping consistent character motivations in this show, and especially with Wayne, that since the beginning, he's all about the victims first. So he puts Alan in his place from that perspective, calling Alan out on the part where he's doing it for himself and getting revenge on Kent. And Wayne asks Alan here, "Are those Woodard's kids?" And he's like, "Mother effer made me carry his water." I love that line, and it shows how angry Wayne is at him that he made him be the one to have to actually kill him. So then we see Wayne and Roland go to Freddie Boyle's house, and they're asking him again about that night. And Freddie actually reveals now that Will was nervous about his sister, and he said, "I don't know where they went." And Wayne catches the "they" right away, those little things. But we see Freddie is hostile towards Wayne because of how Wayne treated him in that interrogation. And Wayne says to him, "Things might be the way they are because you're the type to like bullying someone weaker than you." And Freddie comes right back and says, "And you don't? I was a teenager. What's your excuse?" Damn, he got him there. Whew. Called out on a little bit of hypocrisy from Wayne. So in that case, they both have flaws there in the bully department. What I love about that line, it's set up perfectly the next scene where Roland and Wayne are in the car, and Roland's trying to break down the stuff they need to look into now. And every question he's asking Wayne's responding completely off topic, still talking about Freddie. And he's like, "I was in the jungle at his age. I think that generation is a bunch of P words." So what's amazing about this character arc of Wayne is you're seeing in this 90s storyline, he has all this pent up anger he's developed over his life really start to come out now. You saw how he treated Amelia in this timeline, and now you're just seeing how he is on the case. He's less professional, a little more all over the place, and not afraid to speak his mind as much. Ticking time bomb, where he was much more calm in the 80s. So then a man off the street comes in and lets the detectives know he recognizes the picture of the girl. That's supposedly adult Julie. And he says this girl was on the streets with him for a bit, but her name was Mary July. And he said she was kind of crazy, didn't know what year it was, and that she was the secret princess from the pink rooms. And the key thing here, she says she lost a brother and is still looking for her brother. So from that, Wayne's convinced that this is Julie. And Roland is not, though. Roland's a little more hesitant. So you wonder who's got the right instinct here. Is Wayne just jumping the gun too fast? Too much instinct? and needs to take a step back, or is Roland stutter stepping? The name doesn't help that doesn't match, but it does help that she's missing her brother. What could that pink room princess thing mean, I wonder? Any theories, comment below. So then, in the 2015 storyline, we see when he's being interviewed, we learn Officer Harris James went missing during the second investigation in the 90s. Then Eliza, the interviewer, is like, a lot of people dead, a lot of people gone around this case. And Wayne's snippy back and he's like, people do that, miss. Most people I know are gone. And this line was delivered great by Ali. It's such a simple line, but the way he says it says so much more. Just shows you his opinion as this old man about this case now, how bitter he's gotten. And it's great with the music here, just amping things up. It was kind of spine chilling in a way. What I love about the seasons, they transition from timeline to timeline really smooth. So great editing too. So then in the 90s, we see Wayne goes with Amelia to Roland's house, and we see Roland ended up with the church girl. And Amelia brings up the case at the dinner table, and Wayne is not happy about this. And you can tell Wayne's not even crazy about Roland even opening up about it. And he just says under his breath, Wayne, to Amelia, we'll talk later about what you've been up to. And she's like, what? And he's like, Jesus, you don't quit. Oh boy. So Wayne's really acting like a crazy person here. Most unlikable we've seen him for sure. He was really hard on Amelia in front of them there. But it transitions great to 2015, where we see him reading Amelia's book and actually appreciating it and studying it, which he should have been doing at that timeline in the 90s, but his jealousy, his ego got in the way. And he realizes this in this 2015 series, like, I should have read this a long time ago. And he connects reading this book, the line Lucy, the mom, said to Amelia, where she said, children should laugh, which matches up with the note that Tom got. That's a deep little reveal there. Did anyone catch that? Did anyone line up Lucy's line to that note? And it's really cool to really start seeing him connect pieces now and be effective as a detective somewhat in 2015. We're kind of waiting for that. And then back to the 90s story, post Roland's house. Now they're home at Wayne's house, and Wayne says to Amelia, tell your mom about the divorce, how you referred to me as your ex-husband to another cop. I really related to this scene. I've been in relationships where I've been this controlling and jealous. It's really not good. It just reminds me of that and how silly you look. And she's like, did you really think I did something with that detective? And then we get a crazy line here where Wayne says back, I think you're a voyeur, lifting yourself up on people's bad luck. Wait a minute. This is a huge line, because this makes me now start to question Amelia. And is she a suspect? And this whole episode from this point on really makes Amelia my #1 suspect now. I know it sounds crazy, but when he says voyeur, that just clicks with me, the peephole that we saw in Will's room. And that's voyeurism 101 there. Also, her motivation makes sense because this whole case happening gets her a book deal, and she also had access to these kids at the school. She also knew they were in a bad home and maybe wanted to protect them, like she hinted at, that maybe this person who they're looking for had good intentions, and that maybe Will's death was an accident, she said herself. So all her motivations make sense. And we know she's not a murderer type, so again, it would fit that Will was an accident. And we haven't seen her crazy side yet that Wayne and her were talking about at the dinner table in the 80s, that they never got to her story. And we also know in the 2015 timeline, Wayne is hiding something that he's either in total denial about or has left his memory. And it clicks to me. I think that it would make sense she's protecting Julie from that house. And she's got that saving type in her. So we get a cool effect, though, of him walking up the stairs, and then it cuts to 2015, and the lights are off in the house. And he's freaking out. All the rooms are empty. But then it cuts to 1980s, in the hospital after the incident with Woodard. And there's this crazy line where Wayne smells a scent on Amelia, and she reacts almost guilty to it. She's like, oh, it's ivory soap, chalk dust. Was she the one who planted the shirt and the backpack at Woodard's place? Because when you first see Julie's shirt at the crime scene, they take it out and there's dust all around it, which explained the chalk dust part. And when she said ivory soap, ivory smells like bone. So that could be a lot of things, but that is super suspicious they'd even have that line in there of him smelling her. So then this cuts to the 90s story, and we really learn in the episode that they found at the site of Woodard Will's backpack and Julie's shirt. And Wayne's 100% convinced it was planted. Wayne is convinced because the backpack's fully clean. It would have been more dirty, he says, if it was where the bomb went off. And he said the scene took 3 days to process. It's enough time for someone to get in there and plant something. And Roland deep down knows Wayne is right, but he says he can't bring this to Kent. It's the opposite of what they've been assigned to do. They're really supposed to make it look bad for Woodard not defend him. And Roland comes in hot here to Wayne. He's like, if he had learned this to play politics, he wouldn't have been on a desk job the past 10 years. So this also confirms that Roland and Wayne's big difference is Roland has the sellout mentality to become lieutenant, where Wayne stays by his beliefs and as genuine as possible as a detective and puts the case first. It's a nice story here they develop between the two of them that clearly would develop resentment between them. Wayne knowing that Roland got a step above him by being dishonest. Wayne stays true, Roland plays politics, plays the game. So then in 2015, we finally get our first glimpse at old man Roland, and he has a bunch of stray dogs now. And it's ironic because remember in the first episode in the 80s timeline, he hated dogs. They said they were bringing the canines out. He's like, get those things away from me. And we see here, he's pouring booze in his coffee. It's in the morning. So he's at a different level. And he's talking to the dogs. And Wayne shows up with his son. I love seeing them reunite and him calling him Purple Haze. But see, we learn now that Roland is actually pissed at Wayne. But we don't know why. But Wayne doesn't either. He doesn't remember. And Wayne's like, can I look at some pics of the kids, your wife? And it's sad because Roland's like, none of that happened. And you learn here they haven't talked for 24 years. So we'll get back to this part of the story, which was great. But it goes to the 90s story and a phone call comes into the hotline and they bring in Tom to listen. And the girl's voice is like, make him leave me alone. I know what he did. That man on TV acting like my father. Julie Purcell is not my name. So this is definitely this Mary girl. Whether it is Julie or not, we'll find out. And she's on the phone like, where's my brother? We left him resting. He took me and I'm never coming back. What the hell? This makes Tom suspicious, but this also is a suspicious phone call. Is this someone covering their tracks because they know the public's onto them? Or is Tom hiding something, which I think he is? You know he's kind of guilty. He can't even look at Wayne here. And he's a little racist, so he turns to just pleading to Roland like, help me, you know? So it's interesting, great directing and acting decisions there. Again, the character consistencies have been phenomenal. That Tom would go to Roland and not Wayne. He's almost intimidated by him. Now, back at the 2015 story, to close out the episode, this is some phenomenal writing and acting and the best that's happened in the show yet. There's a lot of important lines here. Roland says, how are you going to talk to these TV people when we've done what we've done? You don't know what you might say or you might remember. And Wayne's like, I remember what we did. I remember not to say. So this is juicy. What did they do? What are they totally not telling anybody? I'm thinking Wayne eventually convinced Roland to go with his way and go against Kent, and it got them in big trouble. Now Wayne tells Roland that Hoyt came to see them after they did whatever they did. So remember, Hoyt was the guy who ran Hoyt Farms, where Lucy, the mom, worked. And he started that whole child foundation. But he never told Roland this. And Roland's like, what did you get from him? And Wayne's like, nothing, I think. And he's like, he knew about what we did. Seems he was in the dark about stuff too. So again, that's just adding another layer here because we haven't heard about Hoyt in a while. So he knows what they did for some reason. It has to be a big connection to him. And why didn't he tell Roland? And what is he forgetting there? Because he's clearly forgetting something. And Roland's got some great lines here saying you walked away. And now 25 years later, you're doing old man fantasy camp. He really has the best lines. I think it's really sad. He's like, you never picked up the phone once. Never dropped by for a beer. And he never said sorry. And he's like, alone out here, no woman, no kids, no old friends. So I get to drink as much as I want to. You don't judge me, mother effer. Stephen Dorff just putting on the breakout performance right now of the year. And he's like, and you still haven't apologized. This is a true bromance and I love it. And Wayne's like, Roland, I don't remember. I can't remember my life, man. I can't remember my wife. I'm sorry. Here comes the tears for me. Whew. Right when Mahershala started crying, forget it. And the way that Roland's reacting to this is so amazing because he's mad, but he's sympathetic. This guy forgot. He clearly did. And he's like, you remember some stuff, right? You remember me? And he's like, yes, I do. It's just the other things. And Roland's like, you need help killing time? I'll kill time. I just don't want to tip my toes in that case again. And Wayne's not giving up. He grabs him by the knee and he's like, come on, let's stir some stuff up again. And then Roland probably is the best line of the season where he goes, I got bad news. Your condition is worse than you think. You imagine two old mother effers like us doing anything other than pissing our pants? I was dying here. I had to pause. It was so funny. Props to the writer, Nick Pizzolatto here this season, killing it with humor. And then Wayne goes, 70-year-old black man, going crazy, running around with a badge and gun. You shouldn't miss that. And Roland's like, I could use a laugh. So he got him right there. Really exciting, and it has some great symmetry to a couple episodes ago where it ended in the 90s where they got together again to work on the case. Now they're teaming up again now in the most present timeline. This was a great episode. Best of season so far. The whole episode just came full circle. It really made you question someone you trust in the beginning in Amelia. It showed well a character change in Wayne in the 90s. And it really showed his remorse about how he behaved in the 90s so well in his 2015 story. Brilliant writing and acting, especially in that last scene. I love this bromance they've continued on. And again, I love about the seasons how likable both of them are and that they like each other. And they still are just feeding in some great little mystery here. It's not just about the Julie case. It's about what did Wayne and Roland do? What did they hide? And Stephen Dorff and Mahershala Ali have had chemistry from the start of this show. And what that earns you is a solid moment and a solid overall scene that happened in this episode. So this episode for me is getting a 9.7. And this episode revealed that the writing here had a vision. It knows where it's going, and it leaves you excited now for these next final 3 episodes. Let me know what you thought of the episode down below. I read every comment, and I try to respond as many as I can. And please subscribe so you don't miss one of my reviews to True Detective. I'll be reviewing every episode, and my review gets posted right after each episode airs, so you don't want to miss one. And follow me at SteveVarley1 on Twitter and Instagram for more of me, and I'll see you next time.